Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome to my snowy vegetable garden. You know, every week I think I'm going to get to do the whole video outside, and then this happens. So we got more snow last night. You can see it's still snowing and it's really starting to get old. But I do know that spring is on its way. Now today marks the 5th video in my series on seed starting demystified. I'll give you a quick update on those lettuce seedlings that you've been seeing for a few weeks now. I'm going to show you what happened with the seeds that I started last week that needed special treatment. Some needed to be planted in darkness. Some needed to be set on a seedling heat mat, while others needed a combination of the two. Then I want to talk about special treatments you might need to do to some seeds. Fortunately, it's the exception to the rule, but it is to help the seeds germinate better. So I'm talking about vernalization, scarification, and stratification. I'll make it all simple for you, so don't worry. Let's get back inside where it's nice and warm. You've seen the lettuce seedlings before, but I might as well show you that they're continuing to grow well. I would love to put them out in the garden under the protective cover that I'm planning to use, but I really need it to stop snowing first. Remember the Verbena bonariensis seeds that I planted a little over a week ago? They needed a dark, warm setting, and even though the information I found said they germinate in 2 to 4 weeks, I'm happy to report that they came up after about 7 days. These have to be the tiniest seedlings I've ever started out with, but they're doing okay now. As soon as they germinated, I moved them off of the seedling heat mat, set them up with bottom watering through the use of a capillary mat, and that's something that I covered in parts 1 and 4 of this series of videos. And that's because watering them from the top is just going to knock them over while they're so tiny. I don't need to fertilize them yet, because I need to wait for them to develop some true leaves. Another seed that needed special treatment last week was the coleus, and so I planted them, and if you look really closely, you can see there's a seedling there, there, and there. So that's a start. The coleus seeds needed heat, but it was okay for them to have light, and the instructions said not to cover the seeds. So I'm going to put that back on the heat mat, and hopefully the rest of the seeds will sprout. The third seed that I planted last week was for salpiglossus, or painted tongue, which is an annual flower that is just gorgeous. And you can see absolutely nothing is going on with them so far. The information on the seed packet said to put them in a dark area so that they could germinate, and to just barely cover them with any potting mix. So as you can see, nothing is happening. And the funny thing is that what I did to accomplish the dark setting is I put this whole flat into an empty cupboard in our guest bathroom. I thought, hey, it's dark in there. That's an easy thing. I don't need any special equipment to accomplish that. One other thing that I wanted to mention about this is that my salpiglossus seeds have a date on the packet of 2019. And I did look up to see how long those types of seeds are viable, and it said 3 to 5 years. So in theory, I'm within that span of time. But if they don't germinate within a reasonable amount of time, I think that's going to tell me the seeds were too old. But, you know, I hate to waste anything, and so I thought I'd give this a go. You'll also recall that I started broccoli seeds in soil blocks, and I have 100% germination, which is terrific. I just need to keep an eye on the soil moisture. Now let's look at special treatments that you might need to use on certain types of seeds. The names of those treatments are vernalization, stratification, and scarification. So let's look at each one, and I'll give you examples of how you might do this. Vernalization involves exposing seeds and plants to cold temperatures in order to fool them into thinking they've already gone through the winter. This means they will produce a crop. Artichokes are a perfect example of this. Since I garden in Zone 5B, it's challenging to get them to produce artichokes for us to eat because it's tricky getting them to make it through our winters out in the garden. Under normal circumstances, the plant just grows in the first year. From their second year on, they bear artichokes. Put another way, vernalization promotes flowering, and in the case of artichoke plants, it will promote the development of the artichokes we all love to eat. To vernalize them, I put some seeds into a small plastic bag that also contains a bit of lightly moistened seed starting mix, and place the bag into the refrigerator for 2 weeks before I plant them indoors. In our zone, that means they're in the fridge around the middle of February, and then I start the seeds indoors 2 weeks later, just like I normally would. There's another part to the equation. 2 weeks before it's safe to transplant the seedlings out into the garden, I also expose them to cool outdoor temperatures. This reinforces the plant's notion, if you will, that they've already been through a winter. You don't want the plants to get frosted, but you do want them to be chilled for a couple of weeks. The result of those two actions gives us artichokes to harvest in that first year. Stratification is the next type of treatment, and it's similar to vernalization because you're trying to trick the seeds into thinking winter is over and it's time to germinate and start growing. I have done this with milkweed seeds, but my research has shown that it's a good idea to use this method for starting things like pincushion flowers, purple cone flowers, black-eyed Susan, and false indigo. You should do the following method 1 month prior to actually starting the seeds. Dampen a paper towel or a coffee filter, place it on a plate, sprinkle the seeds onto the towel or filter, and then fold it up around the seeds. Place that into a clear plastic bag, label it, put it into an airtight container, and set it into the refrigerator. Be sure to mark your calendar so you don't forget them. At that point, you can start the seeds as you normally would. Scarification is the third seed treatment. Just think of the word scar, which basically means breaking down part of the tough coat on their seeds in order to help them germinate. And if you're curious, the reason they have such a tough coat is to prevent them from germinating during the wrong time of the year. You would use this for things like nasturtiums, sweet peas, lupins, morning glories, edible peas, okra, and parsnip seeds. There are 2 ways to scarify a seed. You can nick the outer coat with a fingernail clipper or scrape the seeds with a bit of sandpaper. A perfect vegetable candidate for this is New Zealand spinach. You can also soak the seeds in water overnight prior to planting them. This makes the seeds swell, which breaks the coat and helps them germinate. I have done this for all of the other types of seeds that I just mentioned. Most seed packets will tell you if you need to do one of those special treatments in order to get the best germination rate possible. So always read the backs of those packets. I hope you've been enjoying seeing these amaryllis bulbs. Aren't they just gorgeous? I'm really enjoying them. So that's everything for today. I hope this video was interesting and helpful. So get some seeds started and have fun with it. Thanks so much for watching today. I'll see you next week.